Hello. Today I have been inspired to make a video about how you can use the moon cycles, numerology, and astrology to help you in your business and how you can apply these metaphysical tools and principles to the practical material world and the business world. I actually had a conversation with a friend the other day. He was trying to plan the release of a course that he's launching, and I don't remember exactly how he got on the subject, but I was telling him about how for my other podcast and anytime that I've done like a song launch or any new website launch or anything like that, I always try to plan my launch dates around a new moon or full moon, and I utilize that full moon energy. And there's benefits to both. So I'm going to start by explaining some of the moon cycles and how they can benefit you in your business endeavors. And then we'll move on to astrology and numerology. So when it comes to the moon cycles, something to understand about that. So during a new moon, that is when the sky is dark, which is symbolic with what's going on inside of us human beings. During a new moon, we're naturally called to rest more, to sleep more, and new moons are a time that is about planting seeds and setting our intentions for something new. During a balsamic moon phase, which is the days leading up to a new moon, we are in the process of reflecting and releasing things that no longer serve us, that are not going to be useful for the next cycle of our development. So during a new moon, that's a good time to start promoting something if you are planning on launching anything in your business. And it's just a good time for new beginnings. So I was telling my friend the other day that he should start his new course around the time of a new moon, because during a new moon, we're usually a lot less busy than we are during a full moon. And I'm just going to backtrack for a minute and say, by the way, that it's very possible that a lot of people are just doing this unconsciously, just because they're not even consciously aware that they're necessarily tapped into the energy and they're on the same cycle as the moon cycle. So sometimes I feel like people naturally do this just when we're more sensitive to those energetic cycles. But it's always cool to be conscious while you're doing it too, because that gives you extra manifestation powers and extra powers to accomplish what you're trying to do. And it's also sending a message to the universe, like, this is going to happen on the full moon. This is going to happen on the new moon. But there's 4 main cycles with the moon. There's the new moon, and then the new moon, like I said, which is a time for setting intentions. It's a time for new beginnings. So I also think a new moon would be a good time to have day 1 of a course or something like that. If you're launching something like a song, you're releasing a project, a show, what have you, you could also start promoting on a new moon, because when we set things in motion on a new moon, the energy is also rising. So it's not really good to start something. It's definitely not good to start something when we're winding down after like a full moon, or after maybe in the days leading right after the full moon. We're still kind of tapped into that full moon energy, but in general, the days leading up to a new moon, maybe the week before a new moon, not generally a good time to start relationships or business projects or anything like that. So it's best to wait for the new moon, whether you decide that you're going to do promotional stuff starting at that new moon, because as you start to release the teasers of your project, you can post every day up until your release date. So I have been doing this recently in my own business with my podcast, the Starletta Show podcast, and we've experienced a lot of success by using the moon cycles as to plan our release dates. And we've also had some live events that just happen to sync up with the full moon or energetic portal days, like the 777 portal this summer. We happened to have a First Friday event in downtown Phoenix, Arizona during that, and the event went swimmingly. It was amazing, and We had a ton of people come out to see us. I've grown my business a lot in the last couple months just by consciously working with these energies. So we have the new moon cycle, and then about a week later, there's the first quarter moon. So first quarter moon, it's when the sun and the moon are at a square. So it means that there's a tension inside of us with what we want and how we go about accomplishing that, or how we feel about it. Sometimes it's like it's a crisis of consciousness as well. It's like, oh shoot, I started something last week and I'm running into some challenges, or I'm realizing that I need to redirect my approach in some way, or maybe things are feeling like they're slowing down a little bit. Maybe I just need to like step back or change something here and there. But it's a time to kind of like start to see the fruits of your labor and how it's manifesting. And then you get a chance to kind of pause and reflect and say, okay, this is working. I'm going to keep going with it. Or maybe it's not and I need to try something new. But then we get to the full moon, which is about a week after that. So it's about 2 weeks after the new moon. And full moons are a time when things come to fruition. It's a time where we have epiphanies. It's a time where we release what is no longer serving us. And it's also a very highly energetic, highly charged time. As people tend to be more active, people tend to be more busy during that time. And so full moons bring illumination as well. So it can be a good time for you to put one of your creations out there, and then it's right out there in the light for everybody to see. So you can also get realistic feedback at that time as well. You could also be pretty loose with your launch date or your release dates for your projects, like a couple days before or after the full moon. Because sometimes like the exact alignment of a full moon can bring about major events for people. So sometimes it's almost too chaotic. Like people might be busy, or they might be out and about and not really paying attention to things on social media or whatnot. But if you're doing like live events and stuff where you're in public places and you're meeting a lot of people, you could also utilize the full moon to your advantage too, because typically the full moon draws people out of the house a lot more. Whereas the new moon is more of like we're in a cocoon-like state and catching up on rest, etc. So then after the full moon, we have a week after that, which is known as the third quarter or the last quarter moon. And that's when we have another square between the sun and the moon. And it's also a time where things come to light. We might not feel as motivated or excited about our project. We may run into some hurdles, but that's also a time for us to see what's working and see what's not working, because the week after a last quarter or third quarter moon is about tying up, we're tying up the loose ends of a cycle and preparing for the next cycle. So that's just a brief synopsis of how you can use those moon cycles to your advantage when you're planning the release of a podcast or the release of a song or piece of artwork or a sale, etc. The next thing I want to talk about is numerology. Numerology is a really powerful tool to use for your business as well, because people that know, well, not only does it charge your project with the energy of that date, because words are spells, what we write down, it's like a portal. And if you know anything about witchcraft and manifestation, you know that sigils, or I hope I said that right, sigils, they're, something that witches use. The symbols have a magical power, or it has a meaning to the person who's creating that sigil. I'm just going to say symbol because I don't know if I'm saying the word right. But it doesn't matter to me because I'm just trying to get my point across to be helpful to anyone that's listening. So anyway, the sigils have magic powers to them. So when we write them, they create portals. So, I mean, in a way, your brand is like a sigil. So when you put your brand next to a certain number, for example, you also get the power of that number. So let's say you're going to release a podcast on 11/11. 1111 is a very highly charged number. So ones are about creation and manifestation, and 4 is about it's ruled by Saturn, and it's a number that represents structure. So that could be, if 11/11 is coming up, so that could be a good release date. It's also going to be close to a new moon. So I suggested that date for my friend the other day. But also, just to give you a brief synopsis again about astrology, or numerology, the way you get, like, a number sequence can have different meanings, and it's kind of a combination of the individual numbers that are used, but also the combined energies of those numbers when you add them up and break them down to a single digit. So 1111, yes, it has the energy of one, of manifestation, of new beginnings, of creation, but it also has the number, when you break down 1111, it adds up to 4, and 4 is about solid foundations, ruled by Saturn, structure, discipline, etc. So just to give you a basic rundown about numerology, if you're not familiar, ones are about new beginnings and kind of manifesting our destiny. Zeros are about spirituality and being connected to the infinite, to the all-knowing, all-being source energy. It's a very spiritual number. And then we have 2, which is about balance and duality and partnership and harmony. And then we have 3, which is about expansion and growth, and can even be about expanding, like partnership that goes beyond just 2 people. It's like groups, group efforts, group work. 4, like I said, is about solid foundations, discipline, structure. 5 is about change, dynamic change, traveling, adventure. Can be chaotic at times, but it's a number that's very dynamic and it has like a very vibrant energy. And then we have 6, which again is about balance. It's about relationships. It's about give and take. It's about family relationships as well. And then we have 7, which is in a number of spirit. 7 energy is about reflection, privacy, spiritual renewal, spiritual seeking. Then we have 8, which is abundance. It represents reaping rewards for what we have sown. And then we have number 9, which is about ending cycles, releasing things that no longer serve us, preparing for the next cycle to start all over again, rest and reflection and release, and just ending of cycles, doors closing so a new one can open. So you can use those numbers however you wish. So you can even use a combination of the cycles of the moon and the phase of the moon that we're in with a specific date. So what I like to do is look at the calendar and say, okay, when's the next new moon? When is the next full moon? What's going to make more sense? The other thing I like to consider is, what season are we in? Astrology is so complex and it's such a fun tool to use when you're planning your life. And I think it's something that I haven't really heard people talk about, but that I've personally found really helpful with what I'm doing. So the third part of this little chat about how to use these metaphysical tools in your business for your own personal success is I wanted to talk about the different seasons and some general information about astrology. So for astrology, there are 12 zodiac signs and there's 12 houses in astrology. Each house, it's on a zodiac wheel. So it's like a pie with 12 pieces in it. And then each zodiac sign rules over a different part of your life. And with astrology, rather than starting, even though January is a number 1 on our calendar, the real start of the astrological year is Aries. Aries is the beginning. Aries is the self. Aries is the first sign of the zodiac, and it represents the ego in the most, I guess, primal way, in the way that is truest and closest to source. And Aries, in their power, when they're really connected to that divine source energy, is very, very powerful. They're very powerful at starting new things and just unapologetically being themselves. Now, Aries energy that's not expressed in its highest form or highest expression, that has more negative influence to it, can be very selfish, very narcissistic, very impatient, very draining. So it really just depends on, we always have the opportunity to react from a higher vibe emotional state, and if we're not tapped into those higher vibe emotions, if we haven't cleared out the psychic gunk that's weighing us down, if we haven't worked through our own resentment and fears, oftentimes we're going to manifest the negative energies of a sign. So that is also something to be aware of, more so in your personal life. it's probably more important when you're planning these things in your business for you to make sure that you're in a good headspace. So make sure that you're meditating, make sure that you're eating and drinking healthy foods and clean foods. And that the other thing have found really useful in my own life as far as like managing my own energy is fasting. And a lot of people, in the diet industry want to say like, oh, if you skip a meal, you're anorexic or you're slowing down your metabolism. That is not the case at all. Me personally, intermittent fasting is a thing. There's so much research and evidence that can be really beneficial and helpful for people too, not to mention that our ancestors fasted, but not by choice, I'm sure, but I'm sure they were hungry all the time when you're fending for your own food. And it's crazy because once you start trying it yourself, you realize we really don't need as much food as we think we do. And then if you lose weight from the fasting, you're probably losing fat that is just like not really serving a huge purpose, and it could be clogging up your arteries and your internal organs. So it's not, unless you're like really thin to begin with and unhealthy, then it's not a bad thing to, lose some fat. And it helps with when your body's not focused on digesting food, you're more focused on your utilizing your mental faculties. And you're a lot more clear-headed. So that's why I personally like to fast, and I call it spiritual fasting, and I don't eat until I'm like really hungry, and then I make sure that I eat a good meal, like I'm eating real food. Because the other thing when it comes to our health and like us being the best version of ourselves, living in the most high vibrational reality, is we are what we eat. And there's a lot of misinformation out there. There's a lot of propaganda, and just everybody kind of has their own views on these things. And social media is just like everybody's screaming about what works for them. We're all locked into these little algorithms where, we're only seeing this spectrum of the information about dieting or whatever subject we're looking into. So in my life, like I've done a lot of exploration. I know a lot about what doesn't work for me because I've had a lot of negative experiences. But I'm thankful for that because now I know what does work. And now I'm 30, about to be 36 here in a couple weeks or a week. And I'm so thankful for all those things that I learned that I messed up at earlier in life that taught me what not to do. Because now I'm able to be in a space where I feel free, I feel light, I feel happy. And there's nothing more important than feeling like the best version of yourself. Because if you're not the best version of yourself and you're not taking care of yourself, nothing around you is going to succeed, or it may succeed, but even if you do get what you want and you're managed to succeed in the material world, if you're not happy internally before you reach that success, you're not going to know what to do with it when you have it. And I've definitely been there myself many times where I had a lot of money and I had a lot of material things, but I was miserable on the inside. And when I got those so-called successes, I wasn't able to appreciate them because I didn't know how to appreciate, myself or life. So anyways, I went off on a little tangent, but my point was, we were talking about astrology and how there's always with the astrological energies, like we're being blasted with neutrinos that come from the sun and come from the stars and then the planet Jupiter. And neutrinos are emitted like 3 trillion per second or something, and they're coming through the atmosphere and they're being absorbed through our skin through like the suns and the stars. They're like portals where this energy, these waves of energy, these streams of energy and consciousness are being channeled down on us from the sun. And again, everything in this material world is it's all based on vibration, and all matter is created through thought and feeling. And it's like our feelings that help us manifest it, and they magnetize things to us. And there's also, you can feel it in your body and try a little experiment with yourself. If you're feeling lower vibrational emotions like fear, shame, guilt, depression, despair, anger, resentment, you feel small and your world gets small, and you tend to experience those thought patterns that are just like rabbit hole, worst case scenario thinking. But when you start to work through some of those emotions, and a great tool for doing that, if you haven't learned already, is to journal and write about it and put it down on a piece of paper. And another thing, I like to do that I think has a lot of power is writing it down on a piece of paper and burning it, because fire is about transmutation and change. So you can utilize tools like that to work through those lower level emotions, because if they're on paper, then they're not taking up space in your brain anymore. So on a piece of paper, you can go all out. You can go crazy. You can say, I hate so-and-so. I hate this. This was a big waste of time. So-and-so ruined my life. Whatever you want to say, whatever you're honestly thinking, there is nothing wrong or shameful about whatever thoughts you have. But you don't have to harbor those in your body, because when you harbor them in your body and you don't do anything about it and you drink about it and you try to put stuff on top of it and you try to hang out with somebody to get your mind off of it and you try to drink to water down your emotions, it just clogs you up. It clogs up your system. So now all those negative emotions you felt to begin with, now your choices and your habits and your lifestyle are clogging up your system with more emotions, and then it's continuing to attract more negative experiences. So every time we have these new moon portals or these energetic portals and the sun is shifting signs and these neutrinos are being blasted at us, now if we haven't worked through our resentment or our fear or our sadness or guilt or shame, we're getting the lower vibrational spectrum of that energy. So back to talking about Aries, the first sign of the zodiac, the first season of the zodiac, Aries season, which is the end of March to the end of April. Aries season is about self-discovery, reinventing ourselves and putting ourselves out there to the world, taking leadership in our lives and starting new projects. Aries, more than any sign, is like the energy that is instant. It's so close to source energy. I got crazy chills as I'm talking about this, because Aries is source energy. It's the first recognition of consciousness. It's I am. Aries people are really powerful, and they're not always necessarily meant to follow through with the projects that they start, but they're very good initiators. People with strong Aries in your chart, very good initiators. So the positive spectrum of that emotion, if you're, in Aries season, now you're manifesting from the highest version of yourself, which means that you've taken time to work through those negative emotions. It's no longer clogging your system. So now you're existing in this vibrational state where you're mostly feeling joy, contentment. You're able to laugh again. You're able to smile. You're happy. You're excited for the future. You're hopeful. You're seeking knowledge. You're seeking joy. You're seeking wisdom. So even just me talking about that right now, I can feel in my own body and my auric field that I'm expanding. I can feel my heart opening when I even talk about those words. So that being said, if I treat my body well, if I get enough sleep, if I eat foods that are living, because that was another thing. I don't know if I got to finish that thought, but when we're eating plants and food that is real and it's not processed, or overly sprayed with pesticides and stuff like that, I know some of that is hard to avoid, and it seems like our food supply is getting worse and worse because apples and stuff and grapes, they're tasting a lot more chemical to me, at least out where I am. But, still, eating live foods from the earth is way different than only eating meat or just basing your diet around meat and cheese. All of that is dead. Not to say that it's bad to eat, but in moderation. And they have I watched a really cool documentary, forget what it's called, but they hooked up a plant and meat to some kind of aura reader where it tested the frequency of those items, and then there's a color to the frequency. So the plants were green because they were alive, and green is the color of the heart chakra. So it's heart opening, and green is the color of nature. Green is the color of trees. 432 hertz music. These are all things to be mindful of. And then the aura of meat was brown and black because it's dead. So yeah, that's just something to keep in mind about your own energy, and something I've learned from personal experience, because I didn't even know what a vegetable was for very many years. The only vegetable I knew about was like a slice of iceberg lettuce and a tomato slice that I would put on a sandwich. But most of my diet, it was like eggs and bacon for breakfast, eggs and sausage for breakfast, with a biscuit and some butter. And then for lunch, you have a turkey sandwich with like one piece of lettuce and one tomato slice. And then for dinner, some kind of taco meat or some kind of chicken nuggets or like French fries or something. Like all of those things by themselves may not be so bad for you, but if your whole day of diet looks like that, then think of what it's doing to your energy field, versus I wake up, I maybe fast, or maybe I drink lemon water, maybe I drink some tea, maybe I start my day with coffee, whatever that looks like, but I'm just giving my body a chance to to fast and process what I ate yesterday. And a little hunger is actually not a bad thing. At least for me, like I like having a little bit of hunger because it makes me more focused and it makes me appreciate food more when I have it versus being a gluttonous American where I'm just like, hey, food every 5 minutes. Ooh, more food. And why am I sluggish? Why am I tired? Why am I craving more sugar? Because I'm, that's my focus and I'm consuming. This sugar becomes my God in the same way that drugs and alcohol can become your God if you're not conscious about where your intentions are and you're not living a God-centered life or a heart-centered life. You do fall prey and victim to all of these things outside of us that become our higher power because we become addicted to them because we're addicted to that dopamine rush and the serotonin rush or whatever, all the chemicals that are taking place. So, starting your day off with meditation or with, waking up slowly if you can in a quiet environment, if possible. I know that's not possible for everybody because a lot of us have families and jobs and alarm clocks. So it's not a luxury that we all have. But even if we set our alarm clock a little early and just take that 5 or 10 minutes to sleep, to just lay there and appreciate things or meditate or whatever, anything that you can do during your day to keep you zen. And diet does play a huge role in that. So it's like, either fast in the morning or like fruit on an empty stomach, salad, vegetables, celery, carrots, whatever. And you can do so many cool things with vegetables too. And that's where social media becomes an asset because you can look up healthy recipes and you can make healthy versions of things that were bad for you and your body will acquire a taste for these things. It 100% will. I never thought I would ever like vegetables in my life until I tried them 7 times and until I got tired of feeling sick and bloated and not to be crass with everybody, but having stomach issues all the time because of my diet. And I thought that was normal. It's not normal to have I don't even want to say this. It's not normal to have diarrhea after everything you eat. And that's the American diet. And that's like what it's doing to us. And that's what our lifestyle choices are doing to us. And it's like really destroying ourselves from the inside out and it's affecting our mental health. And there's so many people who are struggling with mental illness. They're struggling with ADD. They're struggling with depression. They're not happy in their lives. They don't have energy. They've got pain. They have chronic pain. It is because of all of these things. It's our diet, it's our lifestyle choices, it's our lack of spirituality, it's the distractions that we deal with, it's the programming that people have been telling us, things that we've been programmed with our whole lives. Just another small example of that, especially for the creative artist, somebody who's trying to make it on their own and be self-employed and use their art to pay their bills. Those people, I hear them time and time again told how they're not going to make it on their own. They need to be practical. They need to get a real job. So, okay, anyone who's telling you that, here's just a tip. Not that I'm telling anybody what to do, but I'm just saying I no longer take advice from people who don't have what I want because the quote unquote advice that is well-meaning as it is really coming from their own fears and them telling you what they're too afraid to do. Okay, so nobody has any business telling you what you should or should not do. Even though I just did that, but I wasn't trying to do that. I was just sharing my own experience in order to help you discern for yourself what is true and good for you. And also to encourage you not to give you some confidence and encourage you not to just accept everything that you hear, from other people as truth. Discover that truth and seek that truth on your own and play around with what works for you. And the best way I've been inspired to do that is by seeing other people who are living in their truth. So whether you're making money or not, or you're thriving and you're living in a penthouse and you're, got all these followers on social media, that doesn't mean anything if you're not happy on the inside. And it's all just a shell. So the true gauge of happiness, and success in my own life is like, how good do I feel? Am I excited to wake up every day? Am I loving what I'm doing? Even on the days that I don't make money and I don't have enough, I still am blessed to be alive. I could cry right now, but I'm not going to because I'm in the middle of this. Anyways, before I get too carried on, I'll continue back to the astrology because we're talking about how we can use metaphysical tools to help us in our business. So we're talking about Aries season, taking care of yourself because the Aries energy is the I am energy. And we have to be taking care of our mind, body, and spiritual health in order to tap into the highest expression of those energies. Otherwise, we manifest the lower expressions of the energy. So for Aries, the lower expression are greed, selfishness, narcissism, impatience, and kind of like being a ram and ramming over other people's boundaries with no disregard to how we're affecting others or how we're harming them, how and if we're harming them. So Aries season is, and it's the start of the astrological year, and people in general are just, we're starting new projects, we're rediscovering who we are, we're reinventing ourselves. It's the start of the new year, so you can literally start yourself on a new trajectory. Like maybe you'll pick up a new hobby in Aries season, maybe you'll start a new relationship, maybe you'll find a business partnership. However that looks for you personally. What we start in Aries season tends to set the tone for the rest of the year. And then we also have another tone. That's the astrological year. And just to backtrack a little bit to talk about numerology real quick, the years are marked. Every year is a number, because, and how we find that number for each year, we add up the day, the month, and what year it is. So for COVID, sorry, I don't know why I said COVID. The COVID year, 2020, that was a number 4 year. So that year was all about solid foundations. And if you look at what was happening in the external world during the 2020 year, the majority of people were locked in their houses. We were kind of restricted. And 4 years are ruled by Saturn, the planet of limitation, restriction, and responsibility. So we had a responsibility to keep everyone healthy and to stay inside. And then 2021 came. So once we crossed into January and the year shifted, now we have the energy of the 5 year, which is about change. People are going out again. People are mingling more. People are changing careers based on what they, rediscovered about themselves during the lockdown. Then we move on to 2022. We're just kind of like chilling now. It's like COVID's kind of like gone. All right, 2022, we're just kind of chilling. Now we're spending more time with our family. We're practicing balance, because we had the big, I can't think of the word I'm thinking of, but like the difference between a number 4 year, which was very restrictive, and then we went the other extreme where it was like, I can do stuff again. And sometimes we might go all out. So the 6 years is about balancing that. Okay, so 2023, this past year, has been a number 7 year. So my prediction for a lot of you guys listening, anything that you start in January or 2024 on, if you've been doing the work and you have done the work of the 7 year that the 7 year has required of us, this is the spiritual year. A lot of us have been in spiritual isolation. We've been confined to our homes. Maybe we're working from home, or we're just kind of like drifting away from friends and families and things that no longer serve us anymore. We're making changes. We're spending more time alone, spending more time in nature, doing more reflection, really thinking about where we want to be in life. Perhaps we start doing spiritual work. We're reading more books. We're practicing manifestation rituals. We start a meditation practice. It can look a lot of different ways. But this year is all about spiritual reflection and spiritual healing. There are a lot of people who do not do any of that. And rather than deal with what is on their heart or their mind or their emotions and their resentment and their fear and their despair and their shame and their guilt, they go out and they go party and they go manipulate other people to make themselves feel better. They search for ego-centered relationships rather than soul-centered relationships. They put their time and energy into things that are going to get them more followers, more reasons and things to indulge in, like food and alcohol and drugs and whatever that looks like. So hopefully you've been on the side of like, you've been doing that work, you've been healing, you've been journaling, you've been meditating, you've been, really seeking your soul's highest calling. Those of you that have been doing that are about to catapult into you're about to freaking shift timelines on the number 8 year. So 2024 is going to be a good year for you, and you're going to thrive because 8 is about reaping rewards from our work, our hard work. But if you haven't done the work, 8 years can bring challenges, and they can bring changes that aren't necessarily positive. But it's still, whether those negative changes or positive changes happen, we always have a second chance. We're not always doomed. So even if you have hard lessons in the 8 year because you didn't focus on your growth and healing during the 7th year, you can still redeem yourself, and you can still you can still get better and you can still improve, because we always have power in the present moment to do that. It's just a lot of us just like aren't really conscious because we're not really, we're either depressed and thinking about the past, or we're anxious about the future, which we have no power to change yet because it's not happened yet. The only power we have is in the present moment. So you always have that power. And then we have a 9 year. So 2025 will be a number 9 year. Nines are, my prediction for that year is that we're gonna, we're closing out a lot of cycles. I think a lot of the old systems and old ways of doing things, I am kind of intuitively feeling like some of those things are going to start to crumble. They're already starting to crumble a little bit, but I do believe that this next generation of younger people, and like with the advancements in technology, I think we're creating and we're becoming a generation who is becoming more spiritually conscious. So I believe, and I think there's going to be a shift and a split. I think that some people are fighting those spiritual changes and they want to stay how things were. And there's, I think, probably going to be a lot of resistance because not everyone's ready to make that transition into a higher conscious, into more conscious or spiritual ways of living. So I don't know exactly how that's going to play out, but either way, during a 9 year, it's ending cycles, huge cycles, sometimes can bring loss of a career, relationships, just things that no longer serve you. But it's not bad because every time you lose something, you're making space for something new. And then when the number 1 year comes in 2026, it's going to be a blessing and you're going to have a chance to start over. So if you learn all the lessons from the previous years, we always have that chance. So thank you for allowing me to backtrack. Now that we've backtracked into the numerology of the year. Oh, sorry, I have to backtrack one more time just because I want to talk about your personal year in astrology too. You can also look up your own numerology. So I could be, during my number 5 year, it was a 5 year 2021, but it was a personal year number 1 for me. And I got my personal year by adding up my birth date, October 22nd, 1987. And I add those numbers together and it breaks down to a 3. So 3 is my life path number. So then every year I add up like October 22nd, 2021. And then that breaks down to like a number 1 year that I was having. So during the 2021, I'm having a personal 1 year. So I'm feeling the influence of the number 1 year, which is about recreating myself, identity. So I was traveling because it was that 5 energy about dynamic change and adventure, but it was also number 1 year for me. So I was like, had, moved out from my mom's house and it kind of like stopped going to like my AA stuff that I've been so heavily involved in for so long in the 12-step recovery, program in life that I was living. And now all of a sudden I'm kind of like on my own. I'm having a soul sabbatical. I'm finding myself out in nature, out in Arizona and on the West Coast, which is what I've always wanted to do. So yes. So if you're interested in looking up your own personal numerology, I can always help you and do one-on-one sessions with you, but you can also look that up online for free. If you do research and you know what to look, so you would just Google what is your, add up the numbers in your birth date until like month, date, and year until it breaks down to a number, to the lowest number under 9, and then you can add up the numbers of the years and then see what numerology year you're having, and then you can Google from there like what is a number 1 year about, what does a number 2 bring, etc. Okay, so now I can flip forward and continue talking about the Aries or the astrological new year. So Aries, we already said that was the new year astrologically. So then once we graduate from Aries season, we're moving into Taurus season. One thing I also want to mention is that Aries was a cardinal sign. It's the first sign of the zodiac. Cardinal energy is about leadership and it's about starting over new. And cardinal energy is like when we create something, but just because we initiate something, it doesn't mean we're always going to have the staying power for it. That's when your Taurus season comes in, because Taurus is a fixed energy and Taurus is an earth sign. So we went from this fiery energy of creation in Aries season at the end of March to the end of April to the slow and steady wins the race energy of Taurus. Now things are slowing down. Anything that we started in Aries season, we're like, all right, cool, nose to the grindstone. Like, let's make this stick in the real world. What practical things do I need to do? What steps do I need to take to make this happen in real life? So Aries, I was going to say, if you're a musician and you've got a lot of songs that you can release and you've got songs about personal empowerment, you've got songs about creation, you've got songs about taken the bull by the horns, you can even release your music based on the astrological themes, which is something that I also try to do because if you're planning ahead, it's like you can have a general idea of the themes that people are going to be experiencing. Therefore, you can kind of plan what songs might do better at that time, or that might be more relatable to people. For example, I would not, actually, I don't know what I was going to say. I was going to say I wasn't going to release an emotional song during Aries season, but at the same time, I mean, you could, because it's still fiery energy. It's the energy of passion. But I would more so, like, if I'm coming from a musician standpoint, if I had a song about a call, I'll use myself as an example. I have a song called Survive, a song called Power, and then I have a bunch of sad songs, and I have some uplifting songs. So for Aries season, I would probably do the Survive song, because it's about, those lyrics are about thriving. So it's like, I'm gonna thrive because I was made to survive. So I would totally release that during Aries season to maximize, to make it more relatable to what people are feeling at the time. Taurus season is more sensual, slow. It's an earth energy, but that's more energy. Like maybe if you're a rapper or you're like regular singer, I don't know, maybe you have a song about making love, falling in love, because Taurus is ruled by Venus. Maybe you have a song about like, I'm going to drink all the champagne and we're going to party it up tonight. That could be a Taurus theme too, because Taurus is indulgent. Taurus is about the five senses. So that's how you can use astrology in the practical world. All right, so Taurus season, the higher expressions of Taurus are that you have strong focus and steady focus, and that you don't shift focus. Taurus is very focused and it's very stubborn. So if you have a goal, you can really tap into that energy and just like really be like a bull and stubborn about your mission and whatever it is you're working on. Now, if you're not paying attention to your mental, spiritual, physical health, it can be stubborn in a bad way. It can be materialistic. It can be using people like objects, overindulging in food and drink, because it's ruled by Venus, and Venus loves pleasure. So it's like the negative aspects of that pleasure. But if your energy is clean and clear and you're really tapped in to the spirit, then you can utilize that energy to like really focus your energy at that time. So then we're going to move on to March, Pisces season. If I'm continuing on with this metaphor that I'm a musician, which I am, that would be a good time to release something more emotional, something about like longing for someone. I have a song called Astral Plane, which is about dreaming in the astral realm and exploring the astral realm. Perfect to release during Pisces season, because Pisces rules the 12th house, which is our subconscious mind, and it's the last sign of the zodiac. Guys, I messed up. Let me backtrack. I totally forgot. Pisces doesn't come after Taurus. What am I talking about? Scratch what I just said. After Taurus season, I was thinking March, which is the third month. So I'm getting twisted in my brain. But after Taurus season comes Gemini, which is the third sign of the zodiac, the third house, which rules our relationships with our siblings and short-term travel and research and gaining knowledge about stuff. Gemini is also an air sign, an air energy. So we become a little more, we become social butterflies during that season. And it's also a good time to partner with people and meet people and figure out who do you want to work with? Who do you have fun with? Who can you collaborate with? Great time for collaborations. Highest expressions of Gemini energy are that you are learning a little bit about everything, and all that knowledge you're acquiring during Gemini season can be very useful. Gemini is also a very good sales energy. Geminis are great salesmen. Highly conscious Geminis are great salesmen. There's also negative Gemini influence, which can be very evil, and the trickster and the just manipulative and just not, they say that Gemini, it's the twins. So it's like the good twin and the bad twin. Which one are you going to feed? So like I said, if you're utilizing that season to your advantage, or you have any projects that are related to helping people network and collaborate, or you can use those tools in your own business to get yourself further, like that's a good time for collaborations and stuff. And the negative things to look out for are just people being deceitful, people being two-faced, being fickle in relationships, and not being honest with people. All right, so then we move on to Cancer season. All right, Cancer is the first water sign of the zodiac. And before we go on to Cancer, let me just say that Taurus was the fixed sign. So that's a time when we're like nose to the grindstone, making it work. And then Gemini is a mutable sign. So we are tying up loose ends from the previous season. We're preparing for the next season, which is summer. With Leo season will be summer. So Cancer season, tying up loose ends, Gemini, all over the place. Gemini season is about tying up loose ends because it's a mutable energy. So let me move on to Cancer season, another cardinal energy, and it's a water sign. So before we can move on and progress into the next fire, earth, water, air, water sequence, we have to clear out emotions that we've accumulated along the way that are no longer serving us. So Cancer season can be very emotional, but again, if we do the work, if we clear out what is no longer serving us, if we allow ourselves to cry and don't feel bad about it, and don't let anybody make us feel bad about it, if we honor those emotions and sit with them and spend time with our families, we will recuperate and we will get back out there and we will be stronger when we come out during Leo season, which is all about shining and putting ourselves out there. But in order to do that, we have to clear out what is no longer serving us. So the highest expressions of Cancer, you're emotional, you're sensitive, you're intuitive. We can make predictions. We can use our intuition to feel things out. Negative sides of Cancer are when we are so sensitive, we're overly sensitive that we just write people off and we block them. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with blocking if somebody's being abusive, but I'm just saying I've seen a lot of Cancers in my day block people for the slightest things that an emotionally healthy and mature person would not be fazed about. But again, everybody's entitled to their own emotions. We're all at different stages of our journey. So it's in love and healing to all of these people. No matter where you are at your journey, it's okay. But I'm just saying, like, negative expressions of that energy are just being overly sensitive in a negative way where you expect everyone to cater to your feelings, which is a very narcissistic energy. And it's not something that you want to live in if you're trying to thrive and be the best version of you. Okay, so Cancer season, business-wise and projects-wise, that would be a good time to release a song or project that has to do with self-exploration, healing the inner child, anything that has to do with the past, anything that has to do with children and childhood and family. Great time to start things like that. If you're a musician and you've got musical projects to release or anything, a great thing. It's a good season to release more like watery emotional songs, especially if you've got lyrics or whatever about looking back on the past, anything that's going to make somebody really sit in their feelings and help them process that energy. Okay, so that's kind of like the first quarter of the zodiac, and fourth house is Cancer energy. So that season is all about just like doing the internal work, and it's also be a very healing time for our relationships with our mothers. And healing, sometimes we're aggravated and we fight with the people that we love, but it's still healing because when we fight with people and when we trigger each other, it brings up stuff that has been hiding below the surface that we can write down on a piece of paper and burn it and process it and reflect on it and sit with it. And then we are cleared out and we're good. We're zooming on to the next phase of life and we're golden. And that's what you want to be you want to be light on your feet. You want to allow emotions and experiences and thoughts to move right through you and recognize that you are not any of these thoughts. You are not any of these emotions. You are a vessel. You are filtering energy. You are filtering vibration. And when you just filter and you don't have attachment to anything, you will fucking fly. Promise you me. Got chills as I'm saying this because inner work is so important. So anyways, and non-attachment. That's another thing. Non-attachment, not being attached to outcomes or people or places or things if we can help it. All right. So that was the end of the Cancer season, the first quarter of the zodiac. Cancer is also cardinal energy. So it also kind of opens us up to like the second phase because there's the 4 elements of the zodiac, but then there's the 3, the 3 signs as far as is it fixed energy or cardinal energy or mutable energy. So it's kind of like Cancer is kind of in between. It's like the last of the first 4 because it's the first water sign in the zodiac, which is like our first expression of emotion. So Cancer, more than any sign, they're the closest. They're the ones who are most connected to their feelings and their emotional energy because they are feeling. Okay, and then Cancer is also cardinal energy. So it's also the start of summer, or at least in this part of the world. So Cancer is about taking a leadership role and initiating things as well. So we can initiate a lot of things in Cancer season by using our intuition. So then after Cancer season, we're moving into Leo season. It's the second fire sign of the zodiac. And there's only 3. So Leo this is still one of the first 6 signs of the zodiac. And if you didn't know, the first 6 signs of the zodiac have to do with our personal self-expression, while the last 6 signs of the zodiac have to do with how are we taking our personal expression and how are we connecting with other people in the real world. You have to connect more with people in the last 6 signs of the zodiac to live out the purpose of those zodiac signs and the zodiac lessons, whereas the first 6 are more about the internal experience that we're having. So once we get through Cancer season, then we're moving to Leo season. Leo season is the lion, it's strength, it's number 8, which is about rewards and abundance. But also, some people are born in July at the end of Leo season, which is 7, but still. The Lionsgate portal, 888, powerful day. 88, it's a powerful day. You can use it as an energetic portal, especially on a year when the numerology of the year adds up to a number 8 year. So like next year, 888, I think is going to be a big portal date, because this year it was 777. So this is like our spirit portal. We're elevating to the next level of spirit consciousness. There's a lot of people that could have, elevated to 5D consciousness at this time, because we're shifting spiritual realities. So next year it's going to be like 888 could be another powerful date for people shifting material worlds and kind of like stepping over into another portal or receiving some kind of huge rewards for something that they've done in the past. So that can be a great day. So Leo season is about self-expression, relationships with children, creativity, and being in the spotlight. Highest expressions of that energy when we're tapped in and we're aligned with mind, body, and spirit. The higher energy is like we're taking something that we've created and we're sharing it with others. And we're feeling good about ourselves and we're feeling confident. And hopefully that work that we're putting out in the world is helping other people and it's helping to inspire them. So it's the energy of inspiration and celebrating ourselves and the talent that so many of us have. Like we all have talents. So whether or not we have tapped into them and that we can use them or not. But the lower expressions of Leo energy are being vain, arrogant, self-centered, demanding, stubborn, because Leo's also a fixed energy. So when we're Leo and we're on that stage and we're living in our element, we're expressing ourselves, we can be stubborn about it in a good way. We have a lot of focus there because we're wanting to express ourselves. But on the negative flip side, we can also be like really stubborn about getting our way or like doing things the right way or like being bossy to people. So don't do that or people won't want to work with you. And then we have, after Leo season, we have Virgo season. So Virgo season is the second earth sign of zodiac, but it's the first sign of the last 6. So Virgo, we had the first 2 earth energies, which were about, Taurus, Virgo, Libra, Scorpio, Sagittarius. Okay, yeah, so Virgo is still an external energy. So Virgo is about, it's the sign of the Virgin. It's the Virgo energy is very analytical, and it's also a sign that's associated with perfectionism. But the highest expressions of Virgo are being very analytical, being able to know exactly what you need to do. It's about managing our schedule and being tapped into a routine and utilizing routine in order to be successful. And it's about our relationship with our health and our body. So health programs, books, songs, great to launch in September, Virgo season. Lower expressions of that energy, being overly perfectionistic, overly critical of others, being a nitpicker. So that's, just something to be mindful of too. Then we have Libra season, which is what we're currently in, October, end of September to end of October. This is the second air sign in the zodiac, which is about connections. It's about air. It's about ideas. It's about communicating those ideas to others. But Libra is about partnership. Libra is a skill. So Libra energy is about balance. We're seeking balance. We're hopefully living in peace and harmony. We're trying to find that balance. So higher expressions of Libra is that you're peaceful, you're cooperative, you know how to make sacrifices for the sake of the greater good without hurting yourself and without being overly sacrificial. But the negative traits of Libra, when we're not tapped into our higher conscious levels of Libra, it can be indecisive, flaky, vain, superficial, people pleasing to the point that you're lying or omitting information, which can be harmful to others. So Libra energy is a great time to meet business partners. It's a great time for programs that you're kind of like launching these cohorts where people need to partner up for something. Dating apps, social apps where it's about connection, because partnerships thrive during Libra season. Business partnerships thrive during Libra season. People have options. People are wanting to be social. It's a very social energy. So after Libra season, we have Scorpio, which is a very powerful time for change and transformation. Scorpio, higher expressions of that energy. You're very perceptive. It's a great time to do research. You're also processing your emotions during Scorpio season, and it's very likely that negative emotions are going to come up. But if you allow yourself to allow those emotions to be filtered through you without hanging on to them, you will thrive and you continue to thrive. But it's just knowing that those emotions are going to pass, and that because this is a season, they're going to pass, and you're going to be stronger for it, because Scorpio is the phoenix rising from the ashes. So what we transform about ourselves during Scorpio season is here to last and stick around. But the negative expressions of Scorpio, it's vengeful as hell when it's been slighted or wronged. It can be very angry, have very angry emotional outbursts. It can be controlling, demanding, jealous, resentful. Those are all the negative traits of a Scorpio. So also cheating and secretive. But a Scorpio in its highest expression is going to be somebody who's very good at tapping into their intuition. They're going to be very good at reading people, and they're going to be able to use that information they gather from the external world and from people and their perception. They're going to use it for the highest good. So Scorpios make great readers, but Scorpio energy, like when you're not in your highest potential, it can be very dangerous people who are really smart and they know how to read people and push people's buttons. So just, on my channel, we're always focused on looking at the up and up and working with like the higher octaves of that energy, because when we allow ourselves to tap into higher vibrational energy, we manifest things way quicker and we're a lot happier. And then life finally becomes worth living. Sagittarius season comes after Scorpio season. Sagittarius season is a time when people are socializing. That's just happening around Christmas and the holidays, Thanksgiving, Christmas, etc., blah, blah, blah. Sagittarius is expansive. There could be people traveling during Sagittarius season, people overindulging, people having fun. Sagittarius season is all about fun, and it's all about seeking higher knowledge. These are the highest expressions. Lowest expressions of Sagittarius energy: thinking that you know everything, being so stubborn about your ideas and the fact that you're right, that you blow other people's ideas off. Also negative Sagittarius energies and traits are like you are blunt. You don't think about people's feelings. You say things that hurt people in the name of honesty and truth. But let's just be real. There's some things that even if it is true, if somebody's not asking to hear it, it can be more harmful to tell them if they're not asking for it. So you have to use your discernment and know whether or not, like, is this helpful? Is this harmful? What to do. But the other negative expression of Sagittarius, they can be very judgmental when other people, because they think that since they've spent so much time finding the ideal truth, they can be very judgmental about other people who aren't living their version of their perceived or so-called ideal truth. A truly evolved Sagittarian understands that everybody has their own version of truth, and that's the way it's supposed to be here. And your version of truth, as long as we're not being harmful to each other, it's okay for us to have different truths and perspectives. So Sagittarian season would also be a good time to launch spiritual projects, spiritual music, teaching programs, courses, stuff like that, because people are more focused on either focused on socializing and having fun. So another thing, for the people that do indulge in alcohol in a healthy way, not a way that they're running from their life, drink and beverage companies, maybe it's a good time to release a good indulgent food or stuff that brings people together, a game that brings people together, stuff like that. Then we get to Capricorn season. After we've overly indulged ourselves during Sagittarius season, which also Sagittarius was a mutable sign and Libra was a cardinal sign. I think I skipped some of those. Scorpio is a fixed sign, so Scorpio was a stubborn energy. Libra, when we're seeking new business partnerships and partnerships in general during Libra season, it's a cardinal energy as well. So it's like we're taking initiative over some area of our lives. And I guess it would most likely be business and personal relationships. And then also it's dependent on your personal chart. So if you have,
it will always depend on what your personal birth chart is. And if you're interested in looking into that or doing a reading, I do offer astrology readings, transit readings, which are very helpful in seeing like what planets or what houses are active, what planets are having the main influence on your life right now. So if you're interested in that, just reach out to me over DM, preferably on Instagram or Facebook, and I can get you a reading. So anyways, moving on, Sagittarius season, it's also the last month of the calendar year. So we're tying up loose ends. It's immutable energy. We're figuring out what doesn't work. So, cause we're preparing for Capricorn season, very last sign of the earth signs, cardinal energy, cardinal sign, new beginnings, but Capricorn energy rules the material world. It's the highest expression of what we were put on this earth to do. And how we're sharing the work that we do with the outside world. Because it's also the highest point of the zodiac chart, your 10th house, your midheaven, the work that you do in this lifetime. Highest expression of Capricorn are that you're doing work that is meaningful. You're in alignment with your purpose. You are, you have the material items that you need to survive. But the negative traits of Capricorn energy, Capricorn to be cool and calculated and emotionless. They get that rep a lot. And it's also known as the devil in tarot, which represents like too much focus on the material world to the point that you're not, you're neglecting your spirit, or you're overly focused on just like overindulging, or just, the material aspects of life, like too focused on money to the point that you're greedy about it and you're not contributing like much to like the collective or other people are helping them. So then we have Aquarius, So another good, projects and stuff to release during Capricorn season, mostly January. People are more disciplined during that time. So this may be obvious. But it's like new beginnings. It is the start of the year. It's like, number one, the first month of the year or the calendar year. So one energy is about manifestation, new beginnings. And then also, like songs that have to do with like working hard or grinding. That could be good if you're a musician to release songs like that during that time. You could also, launch projects that are helping people make more money, like business and coaching programs, helping people find their purpose, etc. And then we move on to Aquarius. So this is the torch bearer, the light bearer, the water bearer. I can't say that. Water bearer. And this is February, late January to late February. And it's a fixed energy. So whatever projects we started in the material world around Capricorn season, or whatever new things we started and put some structure into and intention behind, now we're taking that out and we're sharing those ideas with other people, because Aquarius is about sharing ideas, and it's sharing ideas that's going to benefit the world, the other people, because 10th house Capricorn, it's like, this is your spiritual calling, your spiritual work. What is that for you? Are you a doctor? Are you a lawyer? Are you a musician? Are you a tech person? Are you a person who brings people together and puts on shows and stuff? Like what is your purpose? So now, since you've already tapped into your purpose during that season, now you're putting it out to the real world during Aquarius season. How can you live your highest expression in a way that helps others? Who can you collaborate with? Who is going to help you bring your highest expressions and your highest gifts into this physical world that we live in, for the sake of helping other people involve and enjoy their experience here while on Earth? So highest expressions of Aquarius is like, you're social, you're a humanitarian, you care about others, you help make stuff happen, you're good at networking. Negative expressions of Aquarius are you're free-spirited to the point where you can't commit to anything at all. You're flaky, you're cold. Aquarius can also get a reputation for being like heartless or like cold and aloof, because it is an air sign. So I guess all air signs kind of have that, stigma about them sometimes. Okay, so other good things to do for Aquarius. This is good for like social media apps, dating apps, like any kind of apps or businesses that bring people together, putting on events, etc. Just things that are for the people, benefiting the people, humanitarian stuff, charity events, etc. And then last but not least, we have Pisces, the last sign of the zodiac, before we go back into the next season of the next year and experience these themes all over again, but probably in a different way. So Pisces, if I, am a musician, it's a water sign. So it's a good time to release emotional music. If I'm a business coach, this is a good time to launch programs and to create programs that are helping people work through their childhood wounds or their trauma. This is a good time if I'm, like a health coach. Pisces season, like the highest expression of Pisces season is that we're more inclined to seek out things that make us feel lost in some way, but like losing ourselves to something positive, like our spirituality. And we're like really connecting with like the astral or like our spirit through meditation or guided meditation or yoga or breath work or whatever that looks like for us. But the lowest expression is like that energy. If we're not seeking like God, then we're oftentimes seeking to get lost with drugs. Maybe we do drugs too much, or we do, we're going back to the toxic ex because we need to be lost in something. So those are the lower or highest expressions of Pisces energy. Pisces is also about 12th house. So it's also a good time to do a lot of journaling or help people find their purpose, or like, spiritual readings like human design, astrology, self-help type things, self-help books, etc. It's a good time that can help people, it could show up for people right when they need it. So that is my gist of how astrology, numerology, and the moon cycles can help you in your business and your everyday life. So I really hope that this was helpful. Maybe just to give a quick recap, if I'm planning my business, I don't know. I've just had personal success using all these things. And the last thing I did want to mention about numerology, which I may have failed to mention before, there's a lot of people, especially in the younger generations, that are really into spirituality and they're learning about these things. They're learning about numerology. They're learning about astrology. They maybe only know a little bit of basic information, but it's still on the radar in some way. So if you're a business and you're, trying to promote your product or your launch or whatever it is, or your course, if you have those numbers like 1111 or 333 or 77 or maybe on 88 or whatever, anyone who knows anything about numerology is going to associate your program or your business with those numbers. So let's say somebody associates the number 8 with wealth and you're launching a program on 88. Those people might be like, oh, it's a sign. Like, this is extra good energy. Maybe I'll, that's cool. Maybe I'll take your course or whatever. So that's just like another thing. And it's all subliminal messaging too. And, but that it's using subliminal information and messages in a positive way, because we're also getting shot down and distracted with negative subliminal messages all the time. So if I can leave with anything, I just want to make people conscious of this if they're not already conscious of it, and let you know that as much as people make fun of astrology, numerology, and moon cycles and say that it's a woo-woo thing and it has no place in the real world, I'm telling you 100% in my own personal experience, it has helped me immensely in a way that pharmaceutical drugs, therapy, etc. has not helped. Not to say that those things aren't valuable. I've definitely gotten value out of those things, at some point in time, but not in the way that I have with learning all these metaphysical tools and tricks and tips and all that jazz. So anyways, if you would like to book a personal session with me, personal coaching session, or to have your chart read, to have your tarot cards read. I also do mediumship readings, and then I also do human design readings. So I know that is all over the place, but they are all geared to helping you be the most authentic you and live the best life that you can, and to work through some of your own inner baggage so you can be that channel and that vessel that is just allowing emotions and energy to filter through you, so you can shift to that 5D reality where you're just like flowing and you are living your best life and things are coming easily and they're manifesting quickly, and you know that success is coming and success is happening right now, and you're happy and all of your relationships are loving and you feel good and you feel whole and complete and you're happy to be here. There is nothing that beats that feeling. And I lived for a very long time not having access to these tools or knowing anything about this, because a lot of this information is hidden and it's things that I've had to seek out on my own over the years. But I lived a lot of my life, especially my 20s and even a little bit beyond that, but mostly my 20s and before that, just being depressed and wanting to kill myself and not knowing my purpose and just not being happy here. So my goal with everything that I do, it's like all these little things that have helped me over the years that there's nothing I love more than sitting down with somebody and sharing this knowledge, because most of us are too busy. We don't even have time to look at it. But I've been blessed with the opportunity to have a lot of free time during my life. And I've had, a lot of privileges that I have taken advantage of, because those were what the universe gave me. And there's nothing, we all have opportunities, and those opportunities don't always look the same. And people will sometimes make you feel bad about your specific opportunities that you have because you look a certain way or you live in a certain place. But don't ever feel bad about capitalizing and taking advantage, positive advantage of those, not in a way that's you're taking advantage of somebody in a manipulative way, but in a way that you're taking advantage of the opportunities that the universe has presented to you, because the universe has this, it's kind of like watching all of us. It's connecting all of us, and we all have a role to play in this world. And I'm telling you, my role is to help you get to the bottom of your own limitations and things that have been holding you back, and also to enlighten you with knowledge that I've been lucky enough to come across. So I hope this video has been helpful. Please share it with your friends and your family and to anyone that you think it might be helpful for. And please reach out to me on Instagram, statementsbyalex, if you'd like to book a personal reading. And yes, thank you. And let me know if you like this, and if I should make more videos like this.